Welcome to this month's edition of Umbraco's Tech Webinars. Today we have a great guest from Uniform, who I'll introduce in a second. He's wearing a t-shirt with the label on, I can see. Yep, good for you. This edition is also the first one in 2022, so great to see you all again. As always, we will try to inspire and then connect solution partners with great tech and software. My name is Jesper. I'll be your host today, but today is really all about the Composable DXP. And I can understand now on our guest that DXP is a term from yesterday, so I'll have to come up with a new one, but let's stick with that for the time being. Our guest today is the great bunch of Uniform and also a new tech partner. And they're going to show us an integration they built into Umbraco Hardcore and also tell us more about their product. And without more further ado, Christian, please take it away.
Thank you, Jesper, and good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having us, Jesper. I'm super stoked to be here. I used to build Umbraco solutions 10 years ago when I started out in the space, and I joined Uniform as solution engineer a bit more than a year ago. That was way before we ever started to build the product that I'm about to show you today as well. But as soon as we started looking at it, I was starting to advocate that we should naturally build an integration for Umbraco Hardcore as well. And that started out in the small quite a long time ago with some custom integrations that we did. And now we are finally at a place where we have a fully integrated solution from Uniform, enabling a whole bunch of good stuff from Umbraco Hardcore. So I'll be taking you through a quick bit of positioning, and then we'll spend as much of the time basically doing a demo where I'll show you how we can enable Umbraco Hardcore into this modern digital pipeline where integrations are not something that we, at least from Uniform's point of view, see happening deep inside of the different platforms that we use in a composable stack, but something that we'll try to help you enable in a different way. I'll also show you how we enable and add personalization on top of Umbraco Hardcore and very quick and simple page composition as well. So as Jesper said, without further ado, let's kick it off. So the thing is that in today's world, we all agree that we are in this composable world. That's no longer something that we discuss. The thing to discuss now is how to actually find that right fit for our businesses when we have to choose between all of these different components or composable components that we can drop into our architects. And the reason for doing that is, of course, we want to get to this nirvana of this perfectly built and perfectly nice Lego place where everything works together and everything is just smooth, and we can just pull out little bricks and replace them with other bricks without having too much trouble doing that. Just need to make sure everybody sees my screen, right, Jesper? You're muted, but that's okay.
Everything's perfect, thank you.
Okay, good. Otherwise, thumbs up is good. So what we look at is, from our point of view, is what we talk about is the DXP dilemma. I have a background in the monolithic software space and spent a lot of time with another software vendor before joining Uniform, which was a very different type of proposition. And one of the things that we also experienced there was to basically deliver modern digital solutions and deliver on the demands that businesses need today. We need to knit together this fine fabric of development, design, and digital marketing into one. And that is no easy task to do, because we have a whole bunch of stakeholders that all sort of pull things in different directions. And we have systems that are difficult to integrate and essentially in all of their own aspects, sometimes also pull things in the different directions. And what we traditionally have seen is that customers have gone out and put systems before value. And what we unfortunately see still is that there are some different approaches to building a new digital or modern digital pipeline. We see this traditional monolith over here. You got the Adobe's, the optimized the Sycor, the Aqueous, and that. Then in the middle, we have something that we'll come back to in a second. But on the other side, so the other extreme, or where we want to sort of move, is a true composable stack where everything literally can be sort of easily replaced. But what we unfortunately see also in the market space now is something that are in between, where we meet customers and partners that go ahead and say, let's build this new system, but instead of building a true composable platform, they end up building what we see as a headless monolith, because something like integrations are not kept out of the system, but out of the different systems, but they're deeply integrated into those systems, which means now we just have something that was traditionally integrated in one simple stack or one complete stack. Now we have something that we become responsible for. So instead of some vendor being responsible for the integrations, now either a customer or partner becomes responsible for that, which again comes with its own issues. So a true composable stack is essentially a tech stack where we don't have these deep integrations into the different systems, but where all systems are easily usable and orchestrated across. So what we want to get to is try to achieve this, what we see as true value. So to get to that, we want to be able to orchestrate these different aspects of the aforementioned equation. We want to be able to orchestrate technology, people, and processes. So that platform needs to be technology agnostic. We need to be able to combine sources of data, content, commerce, analytics, search, both what we see as modern stacks and also legacy stacks, and combine them into one coherent tech stack that basically makes it easy for partners and customers alike to work with it, because we also need some node code tools in there that allows content creators to work and create new, simple experiences, adding business value on top of that, business value in the form of personalization and testing, and easy deployment all the way into edge workers so that you can drive personalization in the fastest possible way that you can do with modern technology. On top of that, we want to make sure that the underlying SDK is easy and powerful to use, which gives you as tech partners the best possible experience when you start utilizing this platform. So we from Uniform look at this as trying to offer that power of choice to the greatest extent possible. So Uniform is essentially this smart grid that connects headless CMSs, commerce, front-end frameworks, CDNs, customer data platforms, and analytics platforms into one coherent stack where no specific part of this puzzle has a sort of more prominent place than others, but all of them work evenly across and all can be orchestrated and used equally simple from a front-end user or sort of a business user's perspective. So Uniform provides pre-built integrations. That's what we've been talking about today. That allows you easily connecting to different types of backend systems. We allow you to choose between whatever front-end library you want to work with. We don't put restrictions on those, which means you can use either Next or Nuxt or Gatsby or whatever you want to go out with out there. And we don't sort of enforce any specific restrictions in terms of how you build your solutions either. So on top of that, everything is naturally running off of a SaaS platform, so it's easily upgradable and you can connect to it from anywhere. And then we allow edge side delivery of also personalization. So one thing is delivering experiences today edge side. That's not something that is mentionable, but the fact that we can take the personalization and the testing capabilities into edge workers, that is something that is very different than all of our competitors out there today. So that gives you a bit of context on what Uniform is. So the next step is naturally, let's take a look at how this actually looks from a demo point of view. So we'll spend the next 15 minutes combining Uniform, Umbraco Hardcore with BigCommerce, setting up a simple landing page that will personalize. And then I'll show you how all of this is done through Uniform, and then we'll end up with a finished landing page. So I'll start by showing you where we will end. So the landing page here is combining content from Umbraco Hardcore and commerce information from BigCommerce. And it's all put together in a Uniform's tool called Canvas, which is a no-code tool that allows us to easily use components that are made available to our business users and connecting all of those different components to different data sources that we have added to our platform through simple integration. This is naturally personalizable. So I can go in here and say, if I was actually scored as a man, maybe it's worth mentioning that everything you see on screen now is of course available to you. So we'll be able to show you how these things work as soon as we start delivering these things. So as I personalize for men, you'll see that we now show different clothes, and we could change this as well. So we could say, if I am actually a woman and we score this with, let's just say 50, then we should see that if we do a quick refresh here, we should start seeing personalization happening here. So we can now see that we're seeing a different hero and a different story. So the small tool that I have here is actually the only thing that is still not quite out of beta yet. Normally we have a slightly simpler tool, but we're releasing tomorrow a large new release where we will add a whole variety of new stuff to our personalization engine. And there will also be this new tool coming out, but it will probably come out later this week. So what I'm using here is a preview of that, but it basically just allows me to manipulate scoring inside of the personalization engine. So that's what we'll build now, and we'll build that through Uniform Canvas. And Uniform Canvas, as I said, is a simple no-code tool that allows me to set up everything, but all of this is wired into Umbraco Hardcore. So of course, to get this started, I would need to set up my integration for Umbraco Hardcore. And for Umbraco Hardcore, what this means is basically just adding, of course, a project alias. Currently, I'm connected to my sandbox in my dev environment, and then an API key that I naturally have from Umbraco. So my Umbraco is a very simple instance. It just holds some simple content items. And inside of the settings, I have the different document types that I have set up so that I can support this. The thing to note here is that Uniform allows a slightly different perspective on this, because with Uniform Canvas, you could potentially refrain from having composition inside of the CMS. That essentially goes for all of the different types of content sources we support. So all of the composition could be happening outside of the CMS, and that's where we'll start today. So let's kick this off and create a new landing page. So creating a new landing page means that I now have the ability to start using all of my different components that I have configured in here. It's important to understand as well from a tech point of view, the components are not stored in here. The data is not stored in here. Everything is happening through configuration. And of course, in the fairly short amount of time we have today, we cannot go into all the details, but I'll try and sort of just skim the surface of also some of the tech parts as well, so that it becomes evident for the viewers and the listeners today to understand how we emit configuration from Uniform and how that could then be consumed from my front-end code. So let's add a hero. Adding the hero in here now allows me to select data that I have set up inside of Umbraco Hardcore. So I'll choose my default hero here. You can see there are different things here. I have a hero for women, I have a hero for men, and also my default hero. Adding it in here basically just gives me, gives me the ability to start working with this. And as I do this, we can continuously take a look at how my landing page will look. So we're adding live preview on top of this immediately. So the next thing we want to add is another component. It's the story component. So we'll add that in there. And as you can see, the live preview as it re-renders over here, we'll pull the content from Umbraco and push it into the component so that we gradually build up this page. To give you a very quick insight into a bit of the tech, and what we're basically constructing here is a simple JSON output that will be consumed by the front end, which means at build time or at runtime, depending on whether you want to do a static build or server-side rendering, we will query or give you the SDK to query hardcore. So we basically provide you with some configuration and connections to hardcore, and then the data will be fetched at build time or at runtime, and will be then shaped and put into your front end. That middleware, that SDK, is something that you also control entirely. So again, we give you the SDK and the ability to connect to hardcore. Essentially, that's a wrapper around the hardcore client. But how you want to shape the data coming from hardcore to make it fit your components is entirely up to you. You can just use the default output from hardcore, or you can shape it in any way you see fit, so that when it actually ends up in your hero component, as an example, that hero component now just contains exactly the data needed to render that hero component, and not all the other stuff that might come as metadata from Umbraco hardcore. So let's move this slightly further. So now we're combining this with another connection, because I have a connection as well set up for my commerce engine. This is BigCommerce. So hardcore is one part of my composable stack. BigCommerce is another part of my composable stack. The integration for these two is made through Uniform's mesh framework that allows us to surface data easily inside of the platform. This means that the CMS does not specifically know about the commerce engine, and the commerce engine does not know about the CMS. Everything is basically composed or orchestrated when you need it. So what we did here was we added a featured product component. Let's add a product collection list and call this the mixed shoes for you. And here we basically choose, we're still in winter, tomorrow we're crossing into spring. That would be very nice. So let's pick out a few shoes from the backend here. What you should take note of here is, as well, as a business user, it is transparent to me whether I'm actually working in one platform versus the other. So whether I'm deep in my commerce engine or in my CMS, or whether I wanted to add the ability to query a search engine, the interface would be the same to me, which basically means it's a lot easier for me as a business user to navigate and use these different features that are available here. So now we basically have a finished landing page. Let's just remove the data there. So we have my product, my featured product, my shoes, and my benefits. This is what it takes to build a page with Uniform Canvas across multiple sources, or just one. In this demo, of course, we're looking at Umbraco hardcore. So let's start utilizing some of the business capabilities in here. First, let me test the featured product. So I choose my featured product, and then I choose to A/B test this. I need to associate this with a test that I have set up on the platform for reporting purposes, and then I choose another product from BigCommerce. So I choose a different bag here and say this is my secondary variant. So I have multiple ways of showing the featured product component. The other thing that I want to do here is I want to tag this. So if someone sees the Modena bag fall, I want to tag them with the interest for this particular bag, or tag them with this particular part of our product. So when someone sees this, they receive a brand tag for Modena fall. And if they see the other one, we'll tag them for the accessories one, because we can use that later for personalization as well. So now we're actually also combining testing and personalization. So let's go up here and start personalizing our hero. So much as before with the A/B test, I choose to personalize my hero. So now I need to add a name to this. So when I add a name to this, this is actually me naming it in the analytics engine. So now when Google Analytics receives my data, I will be able to recognize that all of the events coming in that are related to personalization of my hero, they are now tagged with the hero P13N, or hero personalization name. And then under that event, I will be able to see all of the different visitors that fall into the different categories that I can now see inside of Google Analytics. So let's say I have a hero for men. So I add that in there and say I want to add a personalization criteria and say, if you are actually part of the men campaign and you have more than, oh, let's just say that the men campaign is the strongest, then show that as particular a hero. So in the front end now, if we just see this preview refreshing, we should be able to go over here and say, if we are part of the men campaign and we have 25 points in there, we should, if this, so hang on a second, I just need to kill this. We are still not having the ability to kill the data in our new one here. So I just need to refresh it. Sorry about that. So there we go. So my men campaign, if we say that has 25, then we now see this particular hero instead of the other one. So what actually happens in the back is that I'm actually triggering a particular campaign that would otherwise be picked up by the tracker. So if I came to the website with the UTM equals men, that would be the equivalent of scoring as I just did in my tool here. So personalization can be triggered in many ways. For demo purposes, I am basically just showing it here. So I'm giving this value manually. So far, so good. So now we have personalization running, and I just cleared the score here in the back. So let's do a bit more. So let's set up a hero for women. So we're setting up a hero for women here. But instead of just doing it for women, so we can say if you are women and you have a value that is more than or equals to 10, and you also have seen the brand accessories that is worth more than 5, then you should see this particular hero. So now we're starting to do some more advanced personalization. Before we start playing around with that, let's also add some personalization to our product list, just so that you can see personalization can happen across multiple types of data and multiple types of sources as well. So I do the same here and call this the product personalization. And then we want to add another collection list in here and say this is clothes for men, just to start us off. And we got this for the winter 22 campaign. So let's choose a bit of clothes for the male audience. So we'll scroll down. We got the men's stuff in the bottom here. Shirt, and yeah, we're gonna go swimming soon. It's spring tomorrow, so why not? So again, I want to add a criteria in here and say this is for the men campaign, and if it is the strongest, show that. So if we go back to my preview here, just give it a quick reload here, then we should be able to say, as we did before, let's score the men campaign and just give it 25, save it there. So we got the men hero. Let's scroll down. Now we also see the clothes for men. So that is essentially how we set up a personalized landing page that we're also basically doing testing on. So from a testing perspective, maybe you took note of before that the way that this bag was shown was actually different because the image was on the left and this had a white background as opposed to a black background. That was because I chose a different variant. But what also happens now is if we take a look up here, when I scroll over my page, and this actually comes into the viewport, we score this because remember that I over here said that if you actually see this brand, the Modena accessories bag, you should receive 5 points in value against a particular brand tag. So using that for personalization, as you can see, I could do it up here and say, okay, if I now actually have a woman and I have that is greater than or equal to 10, and this is 5, let's see if we can trigger that then and see, let's say over here. So maybe we just want to say instead of the female hero, yeah, no, that's okay. Let's go over here, do a quick refresh. So I reset the scoring in the back. So let's scroll down here. There we got it. So now we have the points. So we also add, say, if you're a woman, give that 10, score that. Let's see, what do we get? It is me not understanding quite. Let me just see. Yeah, okay. Debugging session coming up for personalization. Anyways, We got 5 minutes left of the agreed time. So in the interest of time, we could spend quite a lot of more time going through all of this. This is essentially Uniform. It's available now. The way to get started with Uniform is go on to uniform.app, create a free account. To enable the Umbraco integration, give us a quick email for now until we do the final release. It is available. The Umbraco hardcore integrations are available on GitHub, and you can pull them down. For now, to enable it inside of Uniform, give me an email, and my email is on the last slide. Then I'll enable that feature for you. Then there is a quick quick getting started guide here. Create an empty project. There are some tutorials that you can use on our documentation website and a few articles that I would advise you to read. Then once you have done that, add the Umbraco team integration. Docs will follow later after the release, most likely tomorrow. And then you can basically get started on building your new truly composable architecture with Umbraco Hardcore and essentially any other content source or commerce source or analytics or search out there. So that's what we wanted to show you and talk to you about. So back to questions and back to you, Jesper.
Yeah, thank you very much, Christian. That was quite a roller coaster ride, and catch your breath again there. It's a bit of a sprint too. So thank you much. Let's have some questions. I'm pretty sure there is plenty to ask. And also, please state your organization when you ask questions. Well, I can ask one while we wait. Christian, could you say a few words on the pricing?
Yeah, so it starts basically free. So there is the free tier that you can enable. And then the free tier comes with some limitations, of course. And then when you rise above those limitations, contact sales, there is a few different scenarios to get us up there. And we have a special pricing for smaller companies as well. But essentially contact sales if you need to go outside of the free version. Otherwise, there's also on our webpage a pricing page where you can see sort of the default pricing available for Uniform. I can put that in the slides as well. I guess I'll just share the slides afterwards.
So I can see that Christian Pellis, please ask, how does Uniform work with multiple languages? From Hjalte, and he's a colleague of mine, so he's a Umbraco man.
Yeah, so for multiple languages, Uniform works in much the same way as for personalization and for testing. You can either enable it at the component level, and then you would need to basically pass that information back through the client. So Umbraco, the different language versions of content inside of Umbraco, you will then basically pass that information through the client and get the relevant language version of your content back from Umbraco Hardcore in this scenario, and then you would just display that. Of course, you would then be subject to whatever limitations there might be in the front-end framework, whether you could do that statically or server-side rendered, or however you needed to do that. But it is available in there, and you can add it at the component level. It will require simple customization to enable it at the top level as well. But for now, we primarily do this around the components.
Okay, and Christian Pellis says we should please ask about your GTM model.
Yeah, of course. We primarily work through partners, basically, and we have a strategy about partner-led growth, which means we want to work as much as possible through partners. We do have 40 to 50 partners globally right now that are working with our software. Umbraco is, of course, high on our list because we're out of Denmark, that's one, but also because it has been around for so long, and we want to support Umbraco Hardcore on that new journey. I guess you guys are taking as well, and we're a fairly new company as well, so it's a no-brainer for us to basically take each other by the hand and then go out and conquer the world, and we do that through partners.
Now, how about agencies or SIs and so on? Do you work closely with them too?
Yeah, we do.
Any particular markets that you're targeting at the moment?
We're present currently, physically present in the Americas, in Australia and across Europe. So we do have physical sellers and SE representatives on the ground in these areas. EMEA, I'm here. I have a colleague that will be joining in APJ shortly. And in the Americas, we have 2 people coming on board very shortly as well. But we got 4 go-to-market people over there. So there's lots of people to talk to in the different regions within the time zones as well.
And could you give us a couple of examples of customer cases? You know, are there any specific verticals you do the most, or you know, what's the take on customers?
Yeah. So in general, we do not, as such, at least not yet, specifically go after any particular vertical or size of company. As we say, we start at free and then we scale up from there. One really good case that has been deployed not too long ago is a Swedish company that does bets called Hilding Anders. So they are releasing I think their 3rd or 4th website on Uniform now. They started out with a different CMS than Hardcore and BigCommerce, and the partner actually managed to release that in half the time that they expected because of all the different plumbing and the abilities that Uniform gave them. Same partner just went off and basically released a full new website for a larger Danish company as well. They released last week. We met up with a German partner the other day that have also released one customer. They wouldn't tell us who it was actually, but they released them last week as well. So they're popping up all over the world now. Quite a few American companies are coming in. We signed 2 customers in APJ as well. That are, one of them is what it's called, funding over what's it called? They do funding for people in need. And of course, their project was just postponed now because of the situation in Ukraine. So everything stopped, and they sort of diverted all of their energy in there, which of course is understandable.
Yeah. So one final question. I've heard rumors that you guys will be at Umbraco's Code Garden this summer and perhaps present the case. Can you confirm that?
Yes, we will.
Great. That's going to be great. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Christian, and thank you all for attending. This webinar has always been recorded, so you can watch it later on YouTube. And I think that would be a good idea because Christian shared a lot with us within half an hour. And thank you very much for that, Christian. So, yes, guys, we aim to be back in March with yet another great tech webinar. So, thank you all for today. So, take care. Bye, everyone.
Put my slides here. So, good. Thank you.
Bye.